I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Sparky.
And Salty. I thought Salty was off. I thought Sparky was off.
Son of a bitch.
What? I know. Somebody already won, you guys.
So somebody won our golden
Next
ticket.
time it's going to be 1 to 1,000.
Somebody won our golden ticket to the story that we're writing.
Yep.
Me, you, Pony, and I are writing.
Yep.
The other one went on for a week. Nobody came close to it. It was 158.
Yeah.
And then some dude hits it, 279. So, Mr. Man, I responded under you, son of a bitch. Hopefully you can forgive me. But send us an email, vinandsori@gmail.com, and we will send you as soon as the chapters get published. Right now,
In the subject, put in capitals, I'm the winner, and put the number that you chose so we know.
Right. Well, I said it. I said 279.
Yeah, I know, but it'll make him, it'll make it easier for us to find you.
Yeah, so yeah, well, also comment under the son of a bitch comment. But anyway, so congratulations.
Yep,
you
you're all the way up.
I was anticipating that we were going to have like a big long one.
I know, so was I.
So in the spirit of Black Metal Week, there's another book that one of our villagers brought up by C.S. Lewis, and it's called
Screwtape Letters.
Screwtape Letters. Yeah. And it's basically an older demon schooling a younger demon on how to fuck with people. So we will be willing to buy that and give that one away too. So I don't know, is the number thing getting a little played out? Like guess a number?
Yeah.
Should we do something else?
Yeah, I think you should, but I don't know what
should it be.
I don't know, something where they have to think a little bit, like not guess, but think. Like what we really should do is do riddles.
What?
Do a riddle, and they have to figure out the riddle.
And then they get the book?
Yeah.
Well, do you have a riddle?
No.
Maybe we can do that for the next contest.
Well, I just thought that you were smart enough to think of one on the spot. Okay, so pick a number between 500 and 600.
No. Let's do this. If you were, if you were a demon, what would your demon name be? So we'll try to find like the coolest. Let's try to find the funniest demon name. How about
funniest?
That? So come up with the funniest demon name, and whoever has the funniest demon name at the end of the week, we will announce who gets the free book from the Screwtape Letters. Also, if you're the young lady who came up with the Screwtape Letter idea, send us a mail too, and we'll send you the book. I'm assuming you've already read the book, so whatever. Okay, all right. So we are out of Black Metal Week.
Yeah.
So now we are covering
Metallica Monday.
Metallica! Don't say Metallica Monday. I'm not committing to Metallica every Monday. We do, and here's the thing that inevitably happens. We do one Metallica song a week, and people lose it. Well, oh my God, I guess this channel is
just like every other reaction channel.
Just
no,
every reaction
they don't do anything new.
Just like Metallica.
Just the same shit
over and over again. We ended that. We did Women's Week, in which we paid a heavy toll for that.
Yeah, you have no idea.
But we got OTEP for an interview, which we're still waiting on the OTEP interview.
I know, I was going to do it today.
And the Trivium interview.
I was going to do it today, but then the kids were like, please let us go to the water. Bring us to the water.
That water is disgusting, by the way. All right,
but they're kids.
Let's get to it.
Go.
Is it volume up? Hello, darkness, say goodnight. I like that.
The song?
Yeah.
Oh, me too.
I got 100% lost in that video.
Oh.
Like, I was so captivated by the video.
Oh, I thought you meant it didn't make sense to you. I'm like,
No. It made, well,
there was parts of it that I was like,
I think there's lots of things that are being said in the video.
Oh, yeah. The video sucked me right into it.
Yeah, I thought it was probably one of the most brilliant videos I've seen in a long time. Although, because the concept of what it was saying, or how things work perceptively. So I'm having this discussion with one of our villagers right now about morality. Now, usually it's with atheists, but this is a Christian, I'm pretty sure it's a Christian, who says we don't need God to establish morality. So it's a little bit of an interesting twist. And he said, look, if somebody punches you in the face, you don't need God to tell you that it's wrong. It's wrong. And my response to him this morning was, well, not necessarily. If it's a boxing match, nobody would say it's wrong to punch somebody in the face.
Right.
It's a UFC match, it's not necessarily wrong to punch somebody in the face. There are literally millions of reasons to punch somebody in the face that many of us wouldn't consider immoral or wrong.
Yeah.
So it was interesting because at the beginning of the video, she's black eye and all this, and you're like, oh no,
she's an abusive boyfriend,
fucking scumbag bastard boyfriend that's beating her, and then turns out she's a pit fighter.
Right.
And so now there's a different. So it was interesting because it brought me back to that discussion.
Oh, right.
Earlier this morning, where he was saying this is obviously wrong, and we thought, oh, it's obvious why she has this black eye. And then it turns out that she's a pit fighter, and lo and behold, she beat up some big, strong, brolic black dude that probably has her by 85 pounds because she kneed him in the sternum.
Was it trying to communicate that she was a pit fighter, or was it trying to communicate the things that you have to overcome? Like, first of all, I thought, like when she's walking around with a black eye, and then everybody's like, a lot of people judging her.
Well, one guy said, "Are you okay?"
I saw a girl say, "Are you okay?" I didn't see the guy say.
Well, somebody said, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
Other people were just looking at her like, "What the fuck happened to her?"
Yeah, and I used to always think that when somebody was in a situation like that I'm like, oh, everybody must be saying, "Are you okay?" Now I realize that that's not the case. Most people.
Depends where you live.
Most people won't want to get involved.
Well, I think it depends where you live. Like here.
Yeah.
People would probably get involved and say what happened to you.
Wow.
In New York City, they will watch you get beat up.
Oh, well, yeah, it's not that extreme here. Yeah, but I don't know.
They will watch you get stabbed. They will put that shit on YouTube.
Yeah, I just know,
and not
like,
do a fucking thing to help.
I remember that summer when I had a really hard time, and then I remember, like, I would go out running, and then I would be, like, running my friggin' heart out, and then, like, I would just start crying. Like, I think I would cry, and then I would run my heart out because I didn't want to cry. Like, I'm going down a public... Now I look back, I'm like, I was on a public road, there's lots of cars going by, and I'm, like, hysterically breaking down crying. And, like, nobody, stops to say, hey, are you okay?
Yeah.
I mean, it was obvious. It wasn't like, just like, sometimes you just cry and there's, like, tears, but, like, sometimes it was, real sorry shit crying, So I was thinking, if you had a black eye or something, you just gotta be...
Yeah. It seems that the song, which is interesting, because I always say the title dictates the exegesis of the song, which I also am going to use to dictate how I interpret the video. It's interesting.
But, so I was thinking, since she gets to the pit, and then, like, I don't know if she's literally fighting all these people, or if it's just,
Well, was she fighting some of the people that she saw on the street?
That's what I wondered, but then I was like, but I don't know.
Because the black guy was there, and then there was that...
The brunette. But the brunette the one that said, are you okay? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was a little bit tough to tell because the video was black and white, basically, so... Features are even more difficult.
You very rarely see Metallica. I mean, I very rarely see Metallica around their fans like that.
Oh.
Yeah, like, there's such a humongous band that it's difficult to...
I really liked this song, though.
I really did, too. I think Halo on Fire is like the dichotomy that lives in all of us. Halo is an angel, on fire, evil. So it's like the propensity for good and evil in all of us.
Yeah.
And then, like, how do you manage who to be?
Yep.
I think.
Yeah, I didn't catch the lyrics because...
So, obey, obey, come won't you stay, sincere, sincere, all ends in tears, endure, endure.
So that meant totally different things when we thought it was the abusive boyfriend, you know? And I was like, oh, he like wants her to like just listen to him, and he's saying, come won't you stay? He wants her to stay there in that abusive situation, and he's like trying to be all like sincere, but it all ends in tears. Like, he's sincere now, but then it ends, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I'm interpreting the lyrics somewhat apart from the
video.
The video, because to me, the title dictates something about human nature.
Yep.
So, like, I think this is like the good angel, bad angel thing. What's interesting that really struck me in the first stanza was it says, endure, endure, thoughts most impure.
Yeah.
And I think that's an interesting take on sinful thoughts, shadow thoughts, whatever you want to say, no matter what you're, I've got this guy that always constantly talks about Christianity's guilt trips. I'm not going to say his name, but he keeps acting as if we're the ones that invented guilt.
Right.
Okay.
Like if we never said anything about it, nobody would ever feel guilt.
Right. Of course, much, if you just look at, if you just think, and it's interesting because he has so many assumptions about what we believe the gospel to be.
Oh.
So it's like a bunch of fear-based blah, 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 you're going to go to hell. Mm-hmm. We told people in our entire city the gospel multiple times, probably thousands of times, and 0.01% of it was probably about hell. The majority of it was about taking back our city and overcoming and not having to dig your friend out of a gutter as he ODs on fentanyl.
Yeah.
And how the gospel relates to that. And hey, you can actually have your family back, and your daughter could actually see you grow up. I mean, you can actually see your daughter grow up.
I think there's a lot of people that in their heart of hearts want to see good. You know what I mean? Like, they might not know how to get there necessarily, but like they want to see.
No, and that's what you just said is exactly why I thought endure, thoughts most impure was such a significant line. Because it's like, nobody ever thinks of that as like bad thoughts, as something you have to endure and get through, as like bad thoughts themselves or temptation itself as a form of suffering. Mm-hmm. People usually look at the consequences of like falling into some bad decision or situation as the suffering, instead of looking at the temptation itself and having to endure it and not do it as suffering. Mm-hmm. There are people that have certain inclinations that they hate about themselves, that even society, no matter how liberal we want to be, there are people that have inclinations that they hate. Yeah. But it pops into their minds involuntarily. Sure. And you have to, I was watching this thing on the Discovery Channel, and I remember because Alec brought it up, and it was like there are these people that have like, there's some like mechanism in your brain or gene or something, I forgot what it was. Alec, tell me what it is. And like, if you have it, it gives you a filter for your actions. So like when somebody says something like reckless to you, and you're like, like there's that thing that says don't do that, and then you stop. Well, these people don't have it. What? So like, to think it is to do it in their mind. So
is that something that can be learned? Or are they saying it's
it's a chemical or mechanism in the brain that they're missing.
That you're literally born with.
They're literally born that way, and it's literally missing. And so like, these are like extremely violent people because there's no filter to run through that impulse to lash out at somebody. And so it's like, can you imagine being that type of person? Because you don't have that filter, that means you have to be on hypervigilance. So that if somebody like looks at you the wrong way, that you have to constantly talk to yourself and tell yourself not to do that shit, because you can't rely on that automatic mechanism that the rest of us has. Just takes for granted.
Right. Whoa.
So like that temptation and that struggle is, I have that. Like I have a very active like filter mechanism in things I say and do and all that. Oh, yeah. And I'm very good at being able to just, manage whatever tendencies that I have. But it's like, can you imagine like how difficult that must be to, that. So that's a really, really good line. Endure thoughts most impure. Yeah. Because people don't look at look at it from that perspective. Because all we look at is the action or the result. And like, if you didn't do the action, then it's all, oh, okay, you're a good person. But if you did the action, then you're a bad person. Well, what about the in between? And what a person has to. I feel like something's going on in your head right now.
Well,
that you're
I
not
think
saying.
that
There's something you're not saying.
tons of things that I'm not saying, but those are side issues that have nothing to do with Metallica. But I do think that if you say that there's an impure thought that you have to endure, that presupposes that the person is not all evil. You know what I mean? It goes to that what we were talking about before, because if you have to endure, that means it's something that you don't really want, and it's like a painful whatever. But so I like that about it, because I think that, you know, people do some really terrible things, but then there is stuff that like a lot of us think or feel that we don't want to think or feel, but we do.
Yeah.
And then, like you say, we don't act on it, or we, you know, whatever.
Halo on fire, the midnight knows it well. Fastest desire creates another hell. There it is.
Wow.
That's one of the themes, right? Desire creates hell.
Yep.
Yeah. I fear to. This was another line that was.
Yeah.
I fear to turn on the light.
The darkness won't go away.
Right. So it's like, you know, you say like.
The darkness in themselves?
Yeah.
That's interesting, because remember that there's a verse that says like, they don't want to come to the light because their deeds are evil.
Yeah, light came into the world, but men love darkness rather than the light because their deeds were evil.
Yeah. That's kind of like.
That's Jesus, John chapter 3.
Yeah. That's kind of that same theme right there. Like, they don't want to turn on the light because they're afraid, they're fearful of the darkness, that it's just not going to go away. You see what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, that's a little bit different than what's happening in John 3, although it might not be that different if we think it through. But like, I looked at that as so we had this mutual friend, I'll tell you who she is later. She would not apologize to her significant other when she did something wrong. And so I remember talking to her one time, and I was like, because she was literally the nicest person in that collection of people.
Yeah.
That we were around. Like, she was
maybe
the
she
nicest.
just felt like if she apologized and then she did it again, the apology meant nothing.
That's exactly it, right?
Yeah.
So I fear to turn the light, for the darkness won't go away.
Yeah.
It wasn't that she was saying, fuck you, I'm not going to apologize to you. It was just that she didn't want to say,
That's how I feel sometimes when I gotta apologize to you. I'm like, oh, I'm probably gonna do this again. So then it feels like, why say it? Because then it makes the apologies feel like, well, in the future when I say I'm sorry, it doesn't look like it means anything. Because it's like, what good... I think because when you say I'm sorry, like you have this assumption that I'm sorry means, this is wrong, I shouldn't have done this, and I'm gonna make sure this never happens again. Like, I'm not gonna do this again. But really, I'm sorry just means I wronged you and I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. It also means that you have a sinful nature.
Yeah.
And you're never not going to have a sinful nature in this life. Mm-hmm. So I think, but we talk about that all the time. I don't have like the expectation that nothing bad's ever going to happen, which is also the reason why I'm very quick with apologies if stuff gets pointed out, because I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, But people who are really, really down on them. Here's an interesting thing to me about like perfectionism. The people who are like super perfectionistic almost never get the improvement that they desire. Whereas people who are very liberal and forgiving of themselves change much faster. Oh. Because there's no pressure to perform.
Yeah.
But that's such an insightful line. I fear to turn on the light, for the darkness won't go away. Mm-hmm. That's big time. That's a very honest moment.
Yeah.
And then the next verse has allure, sweetness obscure.
I like when you sing that part.
Deprived to feel so alive. That's a good one. Man, this thing is... like, there's been a couple songs from Metallica where I'm like, I slept on Hetfield as a lyricist. Because I never really gave him any respect as a lyricist, but, I really... This is one of the most, this is a guy who's lived a lot of life and done a lot of shit, and, has been able to look at, the whole scene and realize that there's some really deep issues here in the human condition.
What was the line that you just had read? The allure. Oh, there it is.
Right there.
sweetness obscure, bite, secrets inside, deprived to feel so. What do you think he's talking about?
Well, you have to deprive yourself of things to
feel alive,
really
so
enjoy life. That's
yeah.
one of the paradoxes,
Yeah, it's true.
right?
Yep.
Like, so for example, for example, in a relationship, you know, Jordan Peterson's enforced monogamy aside, but in a relationship, you have to deprive yourself of certain impulses in order to, you know, we're watching this show, and he had this beautiful relationship with his wife, and then he's got this impulse to go sleep with this other woman. Mm-hmm. And so he does it, and it wrecks everything. Mm-hmm. And it's like, if you would have just deprived yourself of that momentary pleasure, mm-hmm. now you would have your wife, your kid, everything would be good.
Right.
And like, even after, like, let's say she forgives, I'm assuming she's going to end up back on the show because she's such a dynamic character. Mm-hmm. Let's say she forgives him, it's never going to be the same.
No.
So it's like, you kill certain aspects of your being and the being of other relationships that you have if you can't deprive yourself of certain, like, momentary flashes of desire. What did you take from it?
Oh yeah, it's the same thing, the whole deprived to feel so alive. Because I actually was thinking when you let yourself constantly indulge and you overindulge, you end up feeling like kind of bleh.
It's true.
So if you deprive yourself, then everything tastes sweeter or feels better, you know?
It's true.
Yeah.
One of the look, like, there's billions of benefits to fasting as a Christian discipline.
Yeah.
You know, where you stop eating for a day or two or three or four or whatever.
Or a meal, whatever you can handle.
Yeah, people always want to include that. Like,
what?
Let's just lower the bar. But the concept of, like, fasting, it's like here's something very, very basic to the human condition is eating. Mm-hmm. But there have been a lot of times when when I've been able to practice that discipline and other parts of you feel alive.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yeah.
And other part, because you're not, like, you're being deprived in one aspect, there's other aspects of you that are, like, really...
You almost realize that you live, like, you depend on it, but you realize that you don't. Like, I don't need all these 3 meals every day. I stop everything, or I start thinking an hour before it's time to eat what I'm going to be eating.
Yeah.
Or all that stuff is cut out, and so, like, it's almost like your senses are, like, heightened. I always find them to be more heightened spiritually,
right.
Because, like, I'm just, like, saying, like, no to my body, and then my spirit is, like, more like, okay.
And of course, what's very interesting is when you get to eat again, chocolate becomes, I was like, oh, I forgot how good this was. You know,
yeah.
it's like, so, like, there is a certain balance between deprivation and like, mm-hmm. feeling alive about things, you know? But, you know, that's the whole, you know, we've been talking a lot about C.S. Lewis, but that's one of the principles that's, like, subtle that people don't get. In The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the White Witch shows up and gives, I think it's Edmund, this bite of Turkish delight.
Yes. Yeah.
And, like, she basically says you can have as much as you want, and he just starts, like, and that's how, like, she, you know, it's like some sort of temperance is important, you know? Mm-hmm. And but then there's that whole battle.
Yep.
It's too dark to sleep. Can't slip away, open or close, my eyes betray beyond the black, come won't you stay. Ooh. Man, these are some tight lyrics, Mr. Hatfield. These are some tight lyrics, sir. That's a crazy line. Too dark to sleep?
Yeah.
That is a very good line, my friend.
What does he mean?
Well, look at the next lines. Can't slip away. He can't fall into sleep. Open or close, his eyes betray beyond the black. So it's like there's a deeper darkness than black.
Oh my
that's
gosh.
in him that's making it so that he can't sleep.
Whoa.
You know, so, like, he's touching on like this real spiritual darkness that people have to deal with. You know. Mm-hmm. And that's and it's interesting because the name of the record is Hardwired to Self-Destruct. Yep. So, you know, self-destruction is a theme of the record. And this is one of the reasons why people self-destruct is because they can't overcome that deep spiritual darkness. Mm-hmm. And that's why I say, like, you know, debates and things like that, that's fine. You know, like, I was reading some of the comments in the Gorgoroth video, and you had been talking about that dude that had, spirits.
Oh, yeah.
And people are like, oh, that's just mental illness.
Yeah, I know. It's always weird to me because, like...
Okay, you said so. That means that's it.
I've been around people that have mental illness. There's an obvious difference between someone who has mental illness and someone who
is demonized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's, like we talked about it before, that a person is comprised of body, soul, and spirit. And so you've got your body, this physical body, and then your soul is like your mind, your will, your emotions, like kind of makes up your personality. And then your spirit is what connects you with like the supernatural, where it's, there's a Ouija board, you kind of feel something, Indian burial ground, you kind of feel the creepies, whatever. Like, and like your spirit can pick up on things. Like, I think you sell yourself short if you just say, oh, it's a mental thing, so it's just a body thing.
I don't know if you've been looking at the comments at the for the Black Sabbath.
Oh yeah,
video.
I saw some of them.
I mean, you got scores
people.
and scores of people saying they have this black figure.
Yep.
One of them I read, it haunted him for like 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And then he left the room, and then it's out there, and then he left, and then he thought it was just him until he read about it. Like, okay.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Like, you want to pretend like the world is completely naturalistic and all that's in the world is dust and fire? Go for it.
I knew this was terrible. I knew this person, I don't even know, we can always cut this out if we need to. I knew this person that was completely naturalistic in their belief system. And their spouse was not. Their spouse was like, no, like, I've seen stuff. And then he was like, nah, he didn't believe it. And then all of a sudden, one night, he saw some crazy shit in his home. And he is not a naturalist anymore. He was like, that is some like crazy, I'm not even gonna say what he saw, but he definitely saw some stuff. But they prayed and then it went away and he never saw anything more, and that presence that they could kind of feel was gone. So
yeah. Although, I mean, here it seems
crunch up pills and throw it around. They prayed.
Yeah, here's the, not to say that there's anything wrong with medication.
No, I'm making fun of the idea that everything's natural. It's just a mental illness.
Oh
so
yeah, yeah, that's right. It's funny to me because like we've been around a ton of people with mental illness. And,
yeah. Yeah, and some of them the medication
there's a distinct difference.
Yeah, some of them the medication will just clear the thing up, and then there's other people that are on medication.
Even the energy,
and
they bring like energy into a room where people are like looking around, and you could tell everybody senses it.
Yeah.
But okay, it's fine. Everything's naturalistic. That's cool. Just dust and fire. But this kind of darkness seems to be almost soulish darkness, like the emotional toll that it takes to try to be. It's kind of a hard song to deal with trying to be, and he even talks about it here. He talks about like lighting up the sky is wicked perfection. The idea that in this life that you can be a perfect person is probably one of the most evil thought in my mind that you could put on a person to completely ruin them.
yeah.
I really think that that's like one of the worst things is to enforce perfectionism on a person, because it's such a painful thing.
Yeah. For
like,
sure.
You have got to embrace the fact that you'll never be perfect in this life.
Yeah.
People message us and they say all the time, like, are you guys Christians? How do you be Christians when you cuss? First of all, I'm not particularly convinced from a biblical perspective that there's anything necessarily wrong with formulating certain syllables in a certain way. But because of my upbringing, I'm like, the ticker kind of goes to it's most likely wrong somehow, right?
Yes.
I'm good with where I am, as far as like, I'm not saying that if it's wrong, I don't give a fuck.
Right.
I'm just saying that I know that I will never be perfect in this life, and I also know that I've got a wife, I've got kids, I've got other complex dynamics in my life, relationally speaking, and this is not something I'm going to devote a ton of spiritual energy to. And I want to make sure I'm relating to you properly and honoring you properly as my number one priority, and making sure the kids are being, whatever, like, and if God, God's got a way of getting my attention, but if he's really like, dude, watch your mouth, like, I'll start editing myself. I will, but anytime I get a Christian, like I've had a couple Christian people message me during the whole Black Metal weekend.
Yeah.
I always take it seriously because those are our brothers and sisters. Matter of fact, I called one up and we had a video chat. And,
Yep.
like I take that very, very seriously. So if you're a Christian and you're uncomfortable with the way that I talk, like, and you message me or email me, Vin and Sori gmail.com, like I don't have a problem with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I embrace it. I love that. It's just that I'm not gonna be, Paul says in Colossians and other passages, don't let anybody, bear you down with a yoke of slavery.
Yeah.
And like, perfectionism is one of those yokes of slavery that if it gets on people, it is extremely difficult to get it off.
For sure.
It's extremely difficult and extremely destructive, and I keep saying it's very convenient for me that I'm a Christian. Because on the one hand it says you suck right out the gate, so don't be surprised. We've had these conversations like you suck out the gate, you were born in sin, so don't be surprised. David said it, in sin my mother conceived me, I was shapen in iniquity.
Yeah.
Done. Like,
I know, and I knew
so
those
don't be
verses
surprised.
but-
Don't be surprised. And then it's like, there's only been one perfect person ever, and you're not him. Okay, look to him and aim for perfection, but you realize that you have to aim for it because you're not going to hit it because you're not there. And then 3, that perfect person took all the evil shit that you've ever done and said, and bore the penalty for it. So just live in freedom, man, and just be who God made you to be, and don't worry about how fucked up you are as a person. Just be who God tells you to be. Like, so right now, you're in front of me, you're my priority. We're gonna figure out how to make it so that, the things that every relationship has, that are whatever. Like, that's my priority. Watching my mouth is not. It's not.
Yeah.
And I get those big things out of the way, then cool. Like, I'll, unless he tells me, like, yo, Vin, this is a front and center issue. You know what I mean? That's kind of where I'm at. What about you?
Well, it was funny because I had just less than a week ago, I was talking to this woman who's probably, I'd say her 60s, maybe even late 60s. And she's like, she's like, sorry. She's like, I literally always thought that Christians were perfect. She said, I thought that once you were a Christian, like, you were perfect. And I said, well, I kind of thought that too, but I thought it was only, like, adult Christians. Like, I didn't think that children Christians were perfect, but adult ones. So I was like, wow, this lady's in her 60s, and she actually thought that you could, meet some place of perfection.
Yeah.
And it's a disappointing place to be in when you feel like that's something that you should be attaining to and you're not. Like, oh no, I'm the only fuck up. That, and then the other thing that was when he says, prayers cannot get through, return to sender, unto which of you shall I surrender?
Whew.
I was like, oh man.
This is just a very, very good
He's
song.
like, I'm trying to pray, but it's just not going, and so now I'm just gonna have to surrender to some of this darkness. But the end of the song, he says, yikes. Dave, can you scroll up for me? I don't know what's happening.
Scroll up or down?
Right there. Hello, darkness, say goodbye. So I feel like it's like kind of like this hopeful, like, I'm acknowledging you, but I'm saying goodbye. Like, this is it. Like I don't know how. Like, it doesn't seem to give like a how
no
this is gonna happen.
here, but it's
like they're trying.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I love it. It's good stuff. Good stuff. Look, if this song would have been around when we were writing the Bible, would have made it in for sure.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
For sure.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, I like this one.
What do you give it?
I'm like a 9.5, and then I want to give it a 10, but it's not like, I don't love it as much as I've loved some of my, like, when I finish a song and I'm like, that's a motherfucking, it wasn't like that level of excitement. I feel like it was like a 9.5, but at the same time, I'll say like you, there's some things that can just kind of, you can put it backwards, you can put it forwards.
Generationally,
the message,
human experience.
Experience-wise is very important, and I think that people of all generations can understand darkness, So I'm giving it a 9.5.
It's a 9.3 for me. It was good. Very, very good. I had to rank it higher than the Gorgoroth song. But I don't know. Yeah, 9.2. Maybe a 9. It's a 9 for me.
Yeah.
I don't think it was that much better than the Gorgoroth song.
They're just different.
Although the Gorgoroth song is more like embracing the shadow self, going way too far.
Yeah.
There's no struggle. It's just, I'm gonna go to black perfectionism.
Yeah.
You know, like if somebody was trying to hit like a perfect black, it seems like that's where he's trying to go in that song. Whereas this song is like, it's cool to hear songs like one after the other.
That's true.
This is
distracted. It's the perfect shade of black. I'm sorry.
This is what happens, fellas, when you prioritize your relationship. I will be giving classes. All right, 9 for me.
9.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.